Pura Vida, my dear friends. This is Sabine Messner, the founder of Soul Purpose Wealth and the host of the Soul Purpose Wealth Retreats. And I am here to introduce you today to one of our core facilitators of the 2016 Soul Purpose Wealth Retreat in Costa Rica, Pura Vida, and it is Siddiqi Soul Ray. Siddiqi is a dear, dear friend of mine. I have been introduced to her by Jeffrey Van Dyke, who has been sort of a major player in my sort of spiritual entrepreneur breakthrough. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jeffrey. He was really holding my back and took me under his wings in 2013 when it was really, really time for me to claim the stage and step into the spotlight. And so he came along when I spoke at Beth Davis's stage in 2013. And so it's like how we're so beautifully connected. So Jeffrey and Beth became friends, and Siddiqi and is now wonderful, friends with Beth. So we're all this, these soul friends that have come with these friendships that have come as a result out of our purpose journey and really being there for each other during the times when it really counts the most, during the times when we feel that we're running out of bandwidth, when our bright lines that we may be known for out in the world are a little bit dim and are starting to fade away. That's when all these wonderful souls that I was just mentioning have really stepped into each other's lives to help each other, bring our life force energy back and help each other out that way. So Siddiqi Soul Ray is dear to my heart, and I was recently reintroduced to Siddiqi through Beth Davis, and I'm just so delighted that I get to introduce you today to my mentor, friend and client, Siddiqi Soul Ray. Hey, Siddiqi.
What's up, Sabina?
What's up, Siddiqi? So when I was reintroduced in fall to you again, I had a real sort of a heartache, right? I had a bit of a heartache around my body. I was working very, very hard and potentially too hard, being, on purpose. You can definitely, I'm sure, we have other spiritual masters out there. We can do the spiritual overrides, especially when we have a great purpose, we have great intuition. We can sometimes do a physical override, right? And ignore our bodies. And that's exactly what I have done for a couple of years. And I came to you and I said, you are just this gorgeous, through and through embodied soul. I mean, your body is the amazing, perfect equivalent of the beautiful, powerful soul that you are. How do you do it? And you were smiling and beaming and you said, well, baby, I've got soul bandwidth for you. And so we want to learn a little bit more about what it actually is, what you're doing with the soul bandwidth and how you're helping people. I since then have hired Siddiqi, of course. She is my soul bandwidth mentor, and we'll share more about that. But I do also want to step a little bit back and introduce Siddiqi from a whole other vantage point. Siddiqi has been really a forerunner in a number of different areas. Firstly, she was on a spiritual path since she's been sort of incarnated in this body. She's always been sort of a spiritual seeker, lived in ashrams, went to India and all sorts of spiritual places and lived there for years. She's even met the Dalai Lama on her spiritual journey and many other very, famous, illustrious, celebrities, including Olympian athletes. But she also, as she was on the spiritual path, has always pursued a very healthy, competitive, athletic career as well. She is a yoga teacher. She's a fitness instructor in LA, which is not a light affair, right? And so there's always been a very, very strong spirit, mind, body component, right? And that was equally strong than the spiritual calling as well. And to top it all off, she's also had an extraordinary intuitive creative neck as a soul portrait photographer. So she's a professional photographer also. She's done a lot of adventure photography, underwater expeditions, and all sorts of adventures with her camera as well. But really her greatest adventure was also to take to go on these like soul safaris, if you so will, which is basically a photo shoot soul excavation experience, where she takes her clients into this process to let really everything fall away, so that all she gets to capture is the soul at the end of the day. And she's taken photos for Tim Kelly and Lisa Nichols and so many other people that I'm sure you have noticed their amazing soulful photos. So spiritual, physical, creative, and all of this comes together now in this extraordinary body of work that Siddiqi has trademarked and is ready to bring out to the world, which is called Soul Bandwidth. And we're so fortunate that we get to have Siddiqi as a core anchor and Soul Bandwidth Yoga facilitator at the Soul Purpose Wealth Retreat. So Siddiqi, please fill in the blank. Have I forgotten anything? What would you like to add about your background so that people really get the big picture here?
Well, that was a very generous introduction, and if you didn't notice, I was crying. People are going to be like, "Oh my God, she's an emotional wreck." But I was crying because you're so beautiful, and you're so radiant, and I'm just so grateful to be on this call with you, thinking about how far we've come in the time that we've known each other, and how grateful and appreciative I feel of the work you're doing and that you have done just to get to this retreat, to offer what you're offering in the world, which is so profound. To go from burnout to breakthrough. And that's really what this is for me. So if I was going to fill in the blanks, it all sounds really good on paper. Like at one point my friend was like, "Have you read your own press releases?" In the middle of a real breakdown that I was having. I was like, "Oh my God, I keep getting sick with bronchitis and I keep getting, hospitalized with all these things." And he's like, "Yeah, but have you read your own press releases?" And so what I want to say is all the accolades and the accomplishments of photographing the Dalai Lama 15 times on 3 different continents, and, for Time magazine, and working for the world-renowned Mayo Clinic and having a research study in yoga, Mayo Clinic, photographing Nelson Mandela, who has been someone that I've admired from the get-go, working with the Navy SEALs, doing underwater photography, working for the Kennedys as their wellness guru in Washington, day in and day out for 6 months. Opportunities like that yes, they are amazing. And I'm so grateful that I've had them. And I am here to work with the women and the men that are amazing like that, and then their bodies just break down because they're running this spiritual energy that leads them into these amazing purposes, and they have this wealth of spiritual energy, and then the physical density of their body can't handle it, and they break down. And that's what kept happening to me, Sabine, is I'd have these amazing experiences. I lived with Buddhist nuns in India for a year, and I was running so much spiritual energy, and then I'd come home and I'd be sick. I'd be sick for 2 years. I'd be flat on my back in bed, and I'd be like, I don't understand. Why can I not transcend this? So I just want to say, yes, it sounds amazing, and I may look amazing today, but it's been a long road of really getting everything into alignment. And that's what I feel like I am really here to teach, the embodiment, the true embodiment of this physical spiritual message, and how to find it so that the physical really becomes the platform for the emotional and the spiritual growth.
embodiment is definitely the key word here. I mean, I didn't really understand the significance of the word embodiment. It sounded to me like sort of something that, you know, we'll get to eventually, you know.
Optional. Optional on the menu. Option D.
Exactly. When we got through our checklist, you know, it's not something that is quintessential, but the more I am understanding exactly what you're saying, like, so we have created breakthroughs, right? These are consciousness breakthroughs. So now we're running truly higher frequency energies in our bodies, but we may still have, you know, sabotaging habits. Like we may have bad sleeping habits or eating habits, or maybe we overindulge in too much wine, you know, I mean, you know, and all of a sudden that creates that discrepancy, and we can't get away with that anymore because we have said yes to, you know, our human evolution, and all of a sudden the discrepancies create that lack of congruency, and that creates that physical breakdown. And in that, inevitably is, of course, you know, a healing message, but really it comes down to embodiment. And so the more we can volunteer in this process, right, recognize it, be compassionate and kind with ourselves, recognize it, but then really get very, very active and committed to making those proactive changes, right, those good, healthy changes, creating more soul bandwidth. Tell us a little bit about your modality. So you're bringing really the mastery of having had spiritual awakenings, having had an Olympian athletic body where normally people would say, oh my God, how did you even get to that level? And then even with that, you experienced emotional and physical breakdowns that you were also able to completely bounce back from and heal again, right? So that's why you're so passionate about soul bandwidth, and that's why it's also so important for people, as we're doing the spiritual work, to really pay attention to the body all along, so that we're not having that neglect. Share with us a little bit more about your principles or your approach, or give people a sense of what it actually entails when we're talking about soul bandwidth.
Okay. Well, the basic principle is that health is the ultimate wealth. If you've ever been the person that has a really rocking career, as I did, and you have all the money in the bank account, maybe you even have like the love of your life, you have the house, you have all the spiritual, all the accolades in your business, and then your health goes down, as it did for me. I had a scare with ovarian cancer. And all of a sudden, the rug is ripped out from underneath you, and you're down for the count. It's like being on ice and like just going down. And you realize that without this physical body that you were, I would say that I was, you know, carrying around like I was a robot. I was living from my head, and acting as if this was just some meat suit that I was like driving around like a foreign object. And all of a sudden it breaks down, and I was like, what the heck? I have stuff to do. Come on, let's get up. And it wasn't that simple. It really wasn't that simple. And I have been a very disciplined athlete. I was very disciplined. I was a figure skater. I was a runner. I was a biker. My dad was the one that was in the Olympics as a bike racer, not me, by the way. And so I came from a very disciplined background of athletics. And this was not in my repertoire, getting sick and being down for the count. But it was physical illness that then led to mental illness because of the treatments that came after the radical hysterectomy. And I was just like, wow. And then my bank account, the physical health went down, and then the bank account went down, and then the relationship went away, and then the job went away, and it all went away. And it was so, and then, and then my belief in the universe just went away. And that's a whole nother story. But we walk around and you ask people, well, can you do this and can you do that? And they say, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I just don't have the bandwidth for that. And what I realized is that what really took me down was that I had all these background programs running. Just like if you have your phone and your battery runs out on your iPhone and you realize, oh my gosh, I had all these programs running at once and it was slowly draining my battery. I realized that that's what had happened to my body. That the illnesses that I had manifested were because I had all these programs going in the background of my mind about what I had to do and what I had to achieve to be okay. And that despite the success that I had a complete lack of joy and a complete lack of energy. And that was a lack of bandwidth. And I really wasn't able to bring my soul into the physical form. There was a lack of alignment. And so I've created now in Soul Bandwidth an assessment, a very easy assessment for people to take to look at what that blind spot is. Like, what is the thing that's keeping us in the dark about those programs that are running? And it usually shows up in your money, in your relationships, in your relationship with God or, you know, the spirit, whatever, in your relationship with significant others, and most of all in your relationship with your body, right? And when people take it, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that that was the area where I was really missing connection and missing the ability to bring spiritual energy into the dense physical form or into the money, whatever it is, or into the relationship or into the career. And we go seeking all the answers outside of ourselves. And then when it's not working, we just try harder, you know, just do it. That's what we're taught. Just do it. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. So that was my, you know, my rude awakening that I had to do something different. So I created a methodology that allows us to work with the body. It's actually yoga with resistance bands. It's something that I started at Mayo Clinic in this research study, like really looking at how do we take yoga, which means to yoke, to bring together the breath, the body, just a very basic yoga sequence, and add resistance bands that they use in therapeutic rehabilitation settings to build active strength and lengthen the muscles for those of us that hate lifting weights, and to really get back in the body and rehabilitate the places where we habitually hold our emotions back, where we hold ourselves back from really being empowered. And that's what Soul Bandwidth is about. It's about powering up the body so that you feel energized and you feel a new level of strength and joy from the inside out. Consequently, you also look better from the outside in, but that's not really the main focus of it. Is that a good description? You're in it. I don't know. You're in it. You tell me.
Yeah, you just absolutely nailed it. This is exactly what why I also, you know, immediately signed up. I think I was one of the first people.
You were the first. Yeah, you were.
I'm like, sign me up. What's so exciting about what you're doing is you do bring a you know, so it's all about stretching muscles, the capacity to bring awareness to certain, you know, body organs or muscle groups or parts of your body that you're completely unaware of, to hold them in for prolonged, you know, times, to use the breath. And while we're in these postures and you really, you know, are making sure that we're all doing it properly and correctly, but it really is about the, like you said, moving the soul back in. So I think there's always an energetic component to yoga, but you bring it even more so into the forefront, and you really bring, yeah, it's like what you said. We inhabit and rehabilitate those areas that were numbed out, shut down, or broken, or where we have emotional pain or physical pain, whatever it may be. We're moving back in there. And what it does, it creates just more confidence in my body. I have more confidence in my body since I've started with the Soul Bandwidth program with you a month ago. I have also added other exercises. My whole productivity and my whole efficiency has increased. I just feel like just overall more energized and happy. I'm really noticing already a lot of soft results as my body is, you know, noticing. I'm like, okay, we're doing something different here. This is interesting. So yeah, and you actually at the Soul Purpose Wealth Retreat, you will be walking us through some of those basic, you know, core principles. So everyone will actually have the experience, maybe even twice a day or so, certainly at least once a day, to really have more soul bandwidth in our body. So this is something that we haven't been able to incorporate last year, and I'm so grateful to you, Siddiqi, that we're able to basically say this is an integral part of the retreat 2016, is that we want to come back home into the body. Embodiment is our middle name, you know.
Yeah, and people are worried. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know yoga. It's very, very basic. It meets you where you're at. There's women in the program and men that have never done yoga before, ever. And we do it over a very similar platform to this, over Zoom, where it's live. So there's people all over the world that are doing it. I see you, you see me, and I'm amazed at how effective it is at progressing forward in your goals for what you want. But people are reporting like more clarity, more focus, more energy, more motivation, being more tuned in and tapped in to their passion, and most importantly, the intuition muscle. Because that's what I say, like, that's where the wealth is for most of us, probably especially for your tribe, Sabine, is the intuition muscle is like the seat of knowingness, and it's in our bodies. And as we like stretch our physical limits with this workout, we're also opening up that portal for the wealth of information that's always coming to us to land. And that's what we're doing. I joke around. I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's do some psychic sit-ups. But we're like building six-pack abs so that that information has a place to come through, and that we can really hear it and listen to it in a place of real refined discernment. And that's the physical.
And can I just emphasize the word body intuition? You know, we live in such a toxic environment. We have basically, our water is actually polluted. I mean, starting with the fluoride, you know, that was added in the 50s, and all sorts of things. We have depleted our resources and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of exposure to toxins, right, that put us into a much, much greater sort of health, at a much greater health risk than other generations that have come before us. And it is so vital that we have a good body intuition, not just an intuition that goes up, you know, to the heavens, you know, but an intuition that also can let you know, check this out, check that out, you know. And this is also a side benefit from soul bandwidth, you know, that you get to listen. You get to listen to the subtle signals, and you can move past fears and concerns that may be unconsciously stored in your body, in your organs. You can move them, release them, and you can like have kind of like your grasshopper ears to the ground and really sort of tune into, okay, maybe my thyroid glands needs more, you know, attention, but this is just an intuition that you get while you're doing a soul bandwidth exercise. So it is really like important that we get on the bandwagon and bring
bandwagon. I love it.
Yeah, bringing our bodies on board with the soul bandwidth. So in closing, Siddiqi, so what had you say yes to come to the Soul Purpose Wealth Retreat for yourself? So what are some of the, or what is the biggest thing that you want to sort of expand and have more soul purpose wealth, you know, in your life and in your business world? Can you speak to that?
Well, truth be told, I really believe that the depletion of all, like if the bank account is depleted and the body is depleted, or vice versa, then if there's depletion in one area, there's going to be depletion in other areas. It's kind of like a drop of ink in water. Like it's just going to be tainted, right? I had a client that was lying to her husband about one little thing. And I was like, if you're lying to your husband in one area, do you consider yourself a liar? And she was like, no. And I'm like, wrong answer. Like, if you lie in one area, you're just a liar. So if you're depleted in one area, you're just depleted. And I tend to get really depleted when I am doing things by myself without inspiration. And when you invited me to this, first of all, I felt incredibly honored. And second of all, I was like, hell yeah, I want to be around a bunch of other people that are creating wealth in other areas. I want to like shore up in the area of, you know, people that are building mastery with beauty, people that are building mastery with these other levels that you've mentioned, you know, with the other archetypes, so to speak, spiritual mastery, beauty mastery, astrology mastery, in these different levels, because it all, you know, it's all different embodiments, but they're different layers. And that's what I need to continue on my path, is of joy, you know, more embodiment of joy. And that's what I felt. And so 80% of my motivation in going is, I just want more joy. And that's what I experience when I'm with you. You're just so beautiful and so sensual and so joyful. And I'm like, oh, any retreat that she puts together is going to be awesome. I'm there. So that was my selfish motivation in going. And ironically, I've done part of my yoga certification was at Pura Vida in Costa Rica. And I know it to be an absolutely beautiful, beautiful retreat center. And it was a pivotal place for me because it was the first yoga retreat where I stood up and I really owned that I was an intuitive. And I stood up and I said, I will write a book about my intuition and I will come out of the closet as an intuitive. And when I went home from that retreat, everything in my life changed. So I know it to be an absolutely incredible, magical, mystical vortex of transformation. So if people are looking to get on the like quantum healing path, this is the place to do it for real. So I'm in.
For real, exactly. I'm double in. So peeps, come with us, join us for the Soul Purpose Wealth 2016 retreat. I invite you to expand your energy into the wealth consciousness to affect all areas of your life, your financial freedom, your physical health, your relationships and love, and your personal satisfaction, soul satisfaction, spiritual fulfillment. All of that is Soul Purpose Wealth. And we're going to do it with a lot of soul bandwidth, with a lot of stretching and releasing and expanding, so that we are able to receive more and more and more of the beautiful soul purpose wealth that is available to us. So go to soulpurposewealth.com, talk to me. We would love to welcome you and vacation with you in the wealth consciousness this May 2016. Thank you so much, Siddiqui, for making yourself available. It's been awesome. And Pura Vida to you all. Bye now.